And on our SuperTalk TV, supertalk.fm/watch, it is Dr. Jennifer Bryan, State Medical Association Board of Trustee Chairman. Good morning, ma'am. How are you?
Good morning. How are you?
I'm doing fine. Another week in the world of COVID. I did notice over the
Absolutely.
weekend we had a decrease from the previous day, which is good news. But what's your assessment to this point?
Sometimes over the weekend we'll see that, and then at the first of the week it kind of goes back up. You'll see that in the numbers across the world. Honestly, I think there's just a lag in reporting. So we'll see. Sometimes you actually get better numbers on the weekend. They weren't much different. So I think we're kind of stable right now with the reporting, and we'll be anxious to see those numbers today to see if
Yep.
they went up or if we're declining or staying the same. At this point, I haven't seen the numbers for today.
Have you been able to, because I was trying to track this too as far as a trend, and it's hard to get a trend on this because it's been moving back and forth. And is that because the way it's being reported, such, for instance, on the deaths, sometimes these things, the numbers don't come in like 24 hours afterwards because of the death certificate. So is it
You know,
is it kind of difficult for you guys to trend this thing?
some of the numbers, I mean, some of it's reporting, some of it is the illness itself. I mean, a lot of people that are really ill will stay ill for weeks on ventilators, and so those
Hmm.
people, depending on when they have a complication, it is hard to track. But typically, the deaths are going to lag behind the case count, obviously. So we're anxiously awaiting the numbers for what happens as we increase our movement to what happens and what lags later.
How certain are you as far as the accuracy of those who have been reported with COVID? And again, Dr. Jennifer Bryan's my guest. How accurate do you feel? I mean, how much confidence that you have that some of it may not be COVID, or some of it was listed erroneously as COVID, or what's your trust in that?
It's I have a good amount of faith in Thomas Dobbs, our state health officer. I can tell you
Hmm.
that. I've talked to him some about his protocols and how he goes through. And this is not a willy nilly designation, and so I know our state's doing a good job of looking at that. Also, I'll tell you that doctors will tell you it's just about like clockwork on COVID, as far
Hmm.
as day one, this happens, day three, day five for the beginning when they're in the hospital. So it's a very pathognomonic situation many times. I've heard about a 10%, false positive, false negative. The tests get better every day. So within that margin of error, if you've got something that presents very similarly and many times it's quite serious, these things are not as hard as you see sometimes on TV to figure out clinically. Is there some data cooking somewhere? Maybe, but this is still a very, very serious virus that we should continue to watch and respect and continue our measures we have in place.
Well, and I was out and about a little bit over the weekend. Tried not to get out that much, but when you go to some of these places, I mean, the crowds have returned. Whether it's they've never left the Krogers and the WalMarts and the hardware stores, but I mean, you see some of the businesses out there, and some of the restaurants, and some of the restaurants had ample number of cars in front of them. I guess everybody's kind of holding our breaths to see if this is going to. I guess it would be like in a 7 or 14 day. We'll probably know the results of that.
So I was kind of giggling watching you and Perez before the commercial break here.
Yeah,
It's in the middle, obviously, of what both of you are saying. The virus, you're right. We could have done this 2 months ago. We'd have had a peak, much higher peak than this plateau that we're experiencing. The problem is the healthcare system was not ready, and
I know.
that your first responders didn't have protection, your doctors, your nurses, nobody had protection to wage such an invisible, horrible foe, and it was predicted. I mean, we knew what we needed, we just did not have it. So the world had to lock down and ramp up production. We're still not there, but we're there good enough to get by. That the economy also is important. I mean, it's so important. All the secondary deaths and illnesses. I mean, we completely get it. So our governor, I believe, is doing a wonderful job with moving us forward, listening to the experts as well as our economic experts. As far as being packed out in restaurants, the governor's got it right. I know I keep saying that, but I'm so proud of his leadership. He really has been in the middle on this. The virus hasn't changed. We still need to practice that physical distancing and wear the face mask if for no other reason. We don't know why the other person may be fearful,
Mhm.
and to respect the fear of the other person or the anxiety of who they may be protecting at home, an elderly parent or a disabled child. And so I hope we will all respect each other, support the economy, but not take this virus lightly.
How's the testing going at UMMC? Do you know?
Much better, much better. Not just for UMC, for everywhere. And I did see today, Dr. Dobbs told me that I think they are doing the testing down at the fairgrounds free of charge. Might check with the state health department on that. But I did see him talking about doctors and nurses could send people if they have one symptom or if they think they've been exposed. They have the ceasefire app that you can go to and check.
Yeah.
Outside of them, all of the systems across the state, we've got the COVID clinics. They're ready to go. Your doctor's ready to test you if you think you've been exposed or if you have a symptom.
Are you guys being given any information? The current test that's being used across the state by most of the physicians now, are we switching those tests? Are we updating to a faster test, or is it the same one?
We would all love to have that super fast test, but it's coming online slowly. It's just like everything else with production. But I do know that we've got innovative physicians and hospitals around the state, and so many are developing their own in-house to standards to be able to test. So on all fronts, we're ramping up testing. Early on, we really were stumbling around in the dark, but we're beginning to have a better handle. I mean, a straw guess would be like, 10% prevalence, maybe. I'm no public health expert, but we're a long way from herd immunity, suffice it to say.
That's what I hear. There was, I think they did about 8,500 or 5,800 sports figures the other day, and they found out it was the herd immunity was down. It was down tremendously from what they thought as far as the general population. So we got, like you said, we have a long way to go. Even looking at California, where they did some initial testing as far as herd immunity there. But if we continue as it is now, it's going to peak, and we'll certainly get on our way. Do you feel like maybe that's the objective now? We've gotten to a point where we understand economically we can't do this. So the only other option is to tell people how they can protect themselves and herd immunity.
Right. So if you'll go back and look at the beginning of this, what you heard healthcare say was flatten the curve so that it doesn't overwhelm the healthcare system. It never said get rid of the virus. So the virus is here, and it's going to do what it does until we get a therapeutic that works or a very good vaccine. And while we've got a lot of hope, I want people to have real hope. We don't want to have foolish optimism either. And I'll credit Tim Alford from Kosciuszko for that quote. I think it's wonderful. Foolish optimism is not good. We do need to support the economy. But this virus is more lethal and more contagious than the flu.
And I think everybody understands now it's more important than ever to do the mask, to do the washing, to do the stay out of the sneeze zone, because with people now getting kind of looser restrictions, it is more important than ever before. One of the things that this has done that nobody ever had any idea would do, it's created a new fashion statement with all these masks. People how creative can you get with masks? It's just
Cassidy and the Sundance Kid.
Do you sing that? I've seen. We've seen. Yeah, a lot of creativity and entrepreneurs out there are cranking them out too. So if you're just wearing a generic mask, you're out. There's no pizzazz about you at all. So it is.
I'll tell you about this virus. It's been so political, and if you'll listen to the healthcare experts, we just need to come together on this and be smart.
Well, I think the other thing, too, and again, another positive note, we are moving light speed ahead where we were 30, 40 years ago as far as knocking down regulations, fast-tracking these things as far as the medicine, the vaccine, and the knowledge about the virus itself. And that's good news. Hopefully next year at this time it'll be a bad memory. So, Dr. Jennifer Bryan, thank you, man. Appreciate it. And I appreciate you being on SuperTalk FM /watch as far as TV is concerned.